we'll give them da'wah. They wanna know what a Muslim does, we'll give them da'wah. When they wanna hate on our deen, we'll give them da'wah. Who's the one and only? Nobody but Allah.
Let me break it down right now for you. Da'wah is a call to you. It's an invitation to change your life. Calling you to see the truth. Back in the day I was living a lie.
Yes, you will.
When did I do that?
You will do.
I don't do that. If I think I understand something, I'll present.
But you've just said here now saying you don't know nothing.
No, I don't.
And you reject greatest scientific minds if they don't suit your worldview.
To metaphysical.
No disrespect. We moved on because anyway. So
okay, right. If you have a theory in one science, one of the things that you do is you look at it. Does it have implications in other sciences? And sometimes that is a good way of testing that theory. Yes, cross-references. Now, this idea of the Big Bang is based on what we call in statistics extrapolation to infinity. What you're doing is you're saying, let's run the film backwards. And if you run the film backwards, the galaxies all get closer and closer together. The density of the universe goes up. So there will be a point at which the density of the universe will be infinite. Extrapolation to infinity in statistics is considered to be the sort of thing...
So you lost me. How did they go back to infinite? I didn't get that.
Sorry?
How did they go back to infinite?
Well, the idea behind the Big Bang theory...
No, you said it went back in, and then when you got to the singularity, how did that singularity become infinite? I don't get that.
No. It becomes infinite in density. Because if you've got all the matter of the universe in one spot of zero...
Infinitely small spot.
...area...
Does this idea of infinite exist?
Well, this is another good question as well, whether or not you can actually have it.
But you can't measure it, can you?
No, exactly. You're making my point for me.
Oh,
and this is what they're saying. They are saying, with the Big Bang, that everything came out of one spot of zero area, zero volume.
Right.
And as you say, we can't have infinites. So that's wrong. We know that. We can shake hands.
Right, so it goes back to a singularity.
That's what they say.
And we can agree the singularity is not infinite.
They are saying it is.
All right. Oh, they're saying it's infinite.
That's what I was saying. This
Okay.
is a criticism of it.
Okay.
So that contradicts the idea that the universe occurred like that.
I'm saying, they're saying that. They're saying you can go back to this point where you have
but
infinite
the problem you have with with the scientific method is that everything has to be within the natural world, isn't it?
And that is true as well, because this isn't inside the natural world.
No, it's not.
Talking about something that's so extreme.
Exactly.
It's outside all the laws, so we've no reason to apply those laws and say, oh...
No. But what we can go back to, even if we come back to your singularity, what we can establish from that is that from that the universe began to exist.
This is what Hawking believes.
But do you believe that?
No, I don't believe that. Singularity.
So you believe this universe always existed?
Yeah.
And why do you believe that?
Because, first of all, there is a very important law in science called the law of conservation of mass energy, which says that mass and energy cannot be created or destroyed.
Within a closed system?
Within a closed system, okay.
And outside of that system?
Well, there is what is outside that system.
We don't know if there even is.
Well, what's outside the singularity? What's the singularity expanding into?
Well, it's a good question, because then you get philosophical arguments about whether or not it's expanding into space, or whether the space expanded with it.
Okay, into what?
Well, exactly.
So if you have a singularity this size, and it's expanding into...
Yes, the problem...
So it must have expanded into something, isn't it?
Well, yes, I know, I agree with you.
Right.
But trying to get answers out of cosmologists on difficult questions like this is like trying to draw teeth.
Yeah.
Cosmology is riddled with terrible problems.
Right.
It's not a science like engineering or something like that.
Right. No, but you're believing... do you believe this universe is once a singularity?
No.
Why not?
Because it's expansion to... It's extrapolation to infinity, which I've just said is... No,
but like you said, so if there wasn't that extrapolation to infinity, and it was just a singularity, that's not infinite.
No, okay, if it's just a little ball, say that size, it's not infinitely small, but it's the size of my fist.
Yeah.
I think that's highly unlikely, not as unlikely as that it was actually...
No, but that would take away your idea of infinite, which you have a problem with.
That would answer that objection.
So let's...
Alhamdulillah.
Yes,
okay.
So what we're saying is, but do you believe the universe exists as it exists today, then?
No, I don't believe that the universe has existed eternally in the way that it exists.
Why not?
Because I take some point. I think there was, if you run the film backwards, a contraction.
There was a contraction?
There was a contraction running it backwards, so it's an expansion if you run it.
And then we're back to what?
I don't know. I don't know what
Alhamdulillah.
But what I am saying is that, do you know what a phase change is?
No.
For example, if you take water and you start heating it,
Right.
and you're taking the temperature of the water and you're saying, oh, it's expanded a bit now, and you would assume that by the time it got to say 1,000 degrees, it would just be very, very hot water. When it gets to boiling point, it changes.
Right.
It substantially changes from a liquid to a
Right.
well, if you're doing these sort of things, you're running back, you're dealing with very high pressures, very high temperatures.
Going back to your point about,
There's
can I
probably a
just,
phase change
but
somewhere.
if you didn't heat that water, could it change?
Well, it could change in other ways. It could change by getting more polluted, by dust falling into it.
All right, if you didn't affect
Yeah,
it.
but if you screened it
right.
out, no, it wouldn't change. But that's,
Right.
yeah.
So it requires a course change.
Yes, and in this case, the change that I'm talking about, as you go back in time, would be things like gravity and pressure.
Right, exactly, causes.
They would be the causes. Of it.
Right. But then if there's gravity and pressure is within the universe,
Yes.
what caused them?
Well, no, you see, you can only, well, we could think of other things that possibly cause them. But you
No, but the point is this. The point here is this. Sorry. The point is this. It requires a cause.
Well, this itself is argued.
Really? Name anything that you know that began to exist without a cause.
No, but the universe isn't like
anything.
I know.
Nobody name anything you know.
No, but it isn't like
Name
anything
anything.
I know. I mean, I could take, dogs and jam sandwiches and all
Name
sorts
anything.
of things. So they all had causes, yes. Fine.
Name anything.
No problem. But we're dealing here with something that
All right.
is not fundamentally
Right.
like.
So you don't know of anything that began to exist without a cause.
Nothing that began to exist without a cause. But of course, if it always existed, it didn't need a cause.
No, right, exactly. We'll talk about began to exist first.
Yes, true.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I don't know of anything. Well,
Right.
there might be something, but I don't know of anything.
Right. Now we know the universe hasn't always existed the way it is.
Yes, but it may have always existed.
No, but you said it changed
Yes.
from alhamdulillah.
because
And we
of
just said that if you don't
gravity-
heat water, it doesn't change into whatever.
Yeah, because of gravity and pressure and things like that. Now, you might say to me, well, where does the law of gravity come from? And the law of gravity may be one of those things.
Did the law of
that's
gravity? Did the law of gravity begin to exist or not?
I have no idea. So therefore,
Alhamdulillah. Right. So going back, right. So going back to my whole original point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which from the very, very start was very, very simple. It isn't unreasonable for me to accept if everything that begins to exist requires a cause, and it looks like from the scientific model that the universe also began to exist, then it's not unreasonable for me to believe, accept, be convinced by, trust the universe requires a cause also.
Well, it is because you've slipped here from we don't know of anything.
No. I didn't say that.
No.
I said
Yes.
belief. What's belief?
Well, belief is, as we've said, trust. Thinking that it's more likely than not.
Convinced by.
Well,
Right. So I'm convinced by the idea of the universe expanding and such.
Yes.
That it goes back into the singularity. The only difference you have with the cosmologists is did it go back to infinite or is it not infinite? Isn't it?
No, I have other calls with them as well.
I can imagine. All right. But me, I no disrespect. You seem as well that you may have more knowledge in this field than I. So you will probably may be able to take the task on certain stuff. Yeah, me I don't, right? I'm only going off the basics here.
No, these cosmologists that you trust, about 20 years ago, worked out a way of dating the age of the galaxies. Wonderful. They found out the galaxies was, according to their theory, twice as old as the universe. That's garbage.
Listen, I have no issue
Pretty
with
convenient.
today's science being tomorrow's fables.
Yes.
I have no issue with that
No.
because we know Charles Darwin used to think frogs emerged from mud and things like this. He did.
I don't think he did.
Yeah, if you read his,
doubt that.
read it. Yeah.
Nothing
I
to
think
do
I'll,
with the evolution.
What?
That frogs evolved from mud.
Frogs, and the maggots just appeared in meat.
No, this is Aristotle, actually.
Was it Aristotle?
Yeah.
There's no way.
No, but where was Darwin get his word?
Well, Darwin's idea was not that they didn't do that they evolved from simpler things.
Yeah. Simpler life forms led to more
You
complex.
see,
life.
for instance,
Maybe it's Aristotle. I don't know.
Aristotle
Anyway,
believed if you
going
had
back
a-
to my point,
Okay.
because now we're going off to another point. The point was this: science can be wrong. We concede
course,
that.
yeah.
All right. And I will look at that for the camera. I will look at that idea about what I said about Darwin and the mud. And if I'm wrong, alhamdulillah, I have no issue with that.
It just doesn't match up to the theory of evolution at all. That's why.
he talked about life.
Maybe when I read about Charles Darwin, he was maybe challenging the idea of Aristotle
Yeah, maybe
about that.
criticise- yeah,
Maybe.
because it's opposite to what he
But there is a famous passage where he talks about life possibly originating in a warm little pond, and maybe that's what you're thinking of. But he's not talking.
No. I think maybe Charles Darwin was challenging the ideas of Aristotle.
yes, that would be-
Maybe that's where I've got the confusion. But let's get back on point.
Sure.
So we know science can be wrong.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying to now in the park today,
Yeah.
according to the consensus of cosmologists, that it appears that the universe had a beginning, and according to what we know, we like the word "know," innit? According to what we know, there's nothing that can begin to exist that doesn't have a cause. Nothing. Of what we know.
Which is not the same thing as saying that we know that.
No.
Of course, exactly.
I'm saying I can only go off what we know.
Yes.
If I start going into what we don't know, it comes into the realms of fantasy.
Yes.
So let's stick with what we know. So it's not unreasonable for me, going off the scientific model, to believe, be convinced and trust that if something that begins to exist requires a cause, and I accept the idea that the universe began to exist, then it's not unreasonable to believe that had a cause also.
Well, it depends on who you are and how much time and effort you're going to put on this. If you're somebody who's not a cosmologist, you're a greengrocer or something like that, and you hear this idea and you say, yeah, that sounds okay, because you haven't studied it deeply. Now, I haven't studied it deeply, I'm not a cosmologist, but perhaps I've gone a little bit further. And as I go a little bit further, what looked like a nice idea starts falling to pieces.
Yeah, but I'd be very interested to know why you disagree with why the cosmologists are so strong with regards to the infinite side of things, and why you reject that. That'd be very interesting. I'd like to see what Stephen Hawking says on that issue.
Please.
And how you challenge that.
Well,
but we can't do. I only come every 4 or 5. Oh, Stephen Hawking.
Yeah.
He's going to turn up one day.
Yeah.
Inshallah. Yeah. Maybe Dawkins. Dawkins would be nice here.
Dawkins would be, yes. But he won't do it unless you give him about 100,000 quid.
Yeah, he's a bit of a stickler.
Scholars for hire, eh?
Yeah.
All right. So basically, going back to my initial point, for me, and I can only talk about me, it's not unreasonable for me to accept if the universe began to exist, then it needs a cause, because everything that begins to exist has a cause, is it?
Yes, that's you're true, but what I'm saying.
All right,
is
but he said it wasn't reasonable.
I'm saying that I don't think that the universe.
No, I'm asking what you think.
That's what I think. Yeah.
No, I'm asking what you think.
Well, I was just saying.
That's what I think.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so what I can say is it seems reasonable for you.
Right. But can you say I'm unreasonable?
No, I'm not saying you were.
No, but he did.
Okay, well maybe he did.
But I did qualify
I'm not saying
that.
you're barking.
Well, you haven't qualified it because you said you can't say that.
Hamza, what I said was that if you claim it as an absolute, then I'll say you're unreasonable. If you say I'm just going on the best knowledge that we have, that's fine.
Well, you can't go on anything else, can you? The original statement was a very, very simple one, wasn't it? I can't prove God exists with testable evidence. Yep. You can't prove the universe created itself. See, for me, the universe existing is evidence for me.
Yes.
That it required a cause.
Yes.
Yeah, and that cause must be something separate from that universe.
Yes.
Outside of that universe, independent.
That's reasonable.
That's reasonable to believe that.
Well, you could take. Let's try and split this.
Go on, then.
This universe, as it exists now, with birds and trees and things like that, hasn't always existed.
You accept that?
I agree with that.
Alhamdulillah.
But what I would say is that it was created. I shouldn't say it's created. It came out of. Just jump on me.
Infecting you.
Yes.
No, I made a Freudian slip earlier, don't worry.
It was preceded by other states which led to this. And
You believe that, isn't it?
Yes, and I believe that could well be an infinite regret.
And what convinces you of that?
What convinces me of that is that, for example, they've got into a lot of trouble with the idea of the Big Bang. They now talk about what they call brains, which is spelled B-R-A-N-E-S. They talk about
B-R-A-N-E-S.
This is in string theory.
Some tiny.
And there were all these other dimensions before, because of the unsatisfactory nature of the Big Bang. And part of it is this issue of the extrapolation to infinity. It's not good.
No. We know the infinite regression argument collapses.
No. So if we go back to, say, the size of my fist, the universal size of my fist, then I could believe...
Size of an atom.
Yeah, okay. What you could have, one other model that doesn't get explored these days is what we call a pulsating universe. So you have, at some point, it's very small, and the pressure is so enormous, it explodes, and so it becomes very big. As it becomes very big, then it starts to fall back again. And so we happen to be on the expanding wing of this.
This is M theory, isn't it?
Sorry?
This is M theory.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know it as pulsating universe, but yeah, okay. And so it goes in, and it comes out, and it goes in, and it comes out, and they could do that forever.
But that's not proven, is it? Or
Nothing.
Is anything to convince you of that?
Yeah, the difficulties that they have in trying to get rid of it. That's what convinces me. You can tell when a theory is weak. You know, for example, the Ptolemaic theory, when they had the Earth in the centre of the universe and they had all the planets going
right.
And that looked fine. And
I've already said today's science is tomorrow's fables. I have no issue with that.
Be where they said it was, so they had to add another bit, another bit. And I think that's what they're doing now. We're seeing this unravelling in front of us.
Yeah. You see, you basically what you're saying is you don't believe that the universe came into existence. It began to exist, isn't it? Or not?
Actually, I believe that it's always been there.
So when it begins to exist, are you saying it begins to exist using your model in these, pulsating you said? So it becomes a universe with all life, creation, laws, natural law, all of this stuff, and then it all goes back to nothing again, and then it all starts again accidentally?
No, I'm not saying that. First of all, I'm not saying there was the first one of these. I'm saying that...
No, I'm trying to understand it. I'm trying to understand it.
However far back you do it, it was doing it. And it wasn't that the laws, although some people believe that's a different theory, but it wasn't that the laws were created by that expansion. It was the laws that caused that expansion. You can squeeze something so far and then it rebounds. And that,
right. So what you're So what you're saying, these laws. So you're saying natural law always existed?
As far as we know, yeah.
Well, we don't know, do we?
No, of course we don't know. But I see no reason to doubt it. Let's put it that way.
Well, why? What reason to believe it?
Well, because
to support your theory, obviously.
No.
Well, that's to, isn't it? If natural law's always existed, it supports your idea, isn't it?
Oh, it does support my
idea. If natural law hasn't always existed, then it doesn't support your idea. Because there was no law to cause...
Other things might support my idea.
All right. So let's imagine natural law, because you can't prove it's always existed. Yeah. Let's say it began to exist with the universe.
We could say that, yeah.
Right. Then what caused that...
Well, what you could have then is in that previous contracting universe, that could have had a set of laws which...
Again, we're all coulds, would, shoulds, what's going on?
Well, of course, because I wasn't there.
No, I understand, but you're standing on this as your evidence.
No, what I'm using is as points to say that we can't trust the Big Bang Theory because there are other theories that are as good.
But that's not as good, is it?
Yeah, why not? Because this one doesn't break the law.
So let's
yours does.
So let's no. My theory is going off. If you're, I don't accept the universe is the singularity was infinite either.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Good.
Yeah, I don't accept that.
Okay, right.
All right. Singularity, I concede. Why? Because the scientific model shows that it's expanding, so it must have been smaller at one point. I can concede. How small that point goes?
Yeah.
No idea. If it goes back to infinite regression, forget that because we'd never have a universe today if it was infinite.
Well, no, that's.
If you have an infinite past, you can never have a present. We can concede that.
I don't forget that. We'd have to argue that one.
Right. Sorry?
I don't agree with you on
what,
that.
infinite regression?
I don't agree with you that we cannot have
a present.
Infinite past into the...
You believe we can have an infinite past?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So if you have an infinite past, how do you get to today?
Well, if you have an infinite past, you have to be in some day, and whichever day we're in...
No, but you'll never get to today. Yeah, no, I understand, but what... If you have an infinite past, it's an infinite series of events going backwards, how are you ever going to get forwards?
Well, you do go forwards because it's the opposite of backwards. And if you
but if you're going backwards infinitely, aren't you?
Well, no, we're actually going forward now, one day at a time.
No, we're talking about the history of the universe. We're going backwards, aren't we?
Yeah.
Right, so we're going backwards, aren't we?
Yes.
And if we go back infinitely, how are you ever going to get forward again? If you're going to keep going?
Well, no, you were doing a thought experiment. And in that thought experiment, we're going back in time. A million
No, but I'm talking about a series of events.
Yes.
So if you have an infinite series of events going backwards, you'll never start. How's it ever going to start?
The infinite series of events didn't go backwards. We're looking at it that way. We're saying, well, what was it doing a million years ago? What was it doing a trillion years ago? We are going back as a thought experiment, trying to think of what was happening.
We're talking about the known universe. Are we talking about the universe today?
We can talk about the universe today.
Right. Are we talking about its origination?
Well, whether it had one.
Well, what it was before it is today.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was other things like it was gas.
Whatever it was before.
Oh yeah, there was
in the past.
There were states in the universe.
Was that past or present or future?
It's past. Some of it actually is still present. But the universe.
Are we looking about where this universe, how it came into what it is, isn't it?
Well,
what was this universe, I don't know, 10 billion years ago, for example?
Yeah, okay, let's go back a bit further. Say 14 billion years ago. It gets interesting.
What was it then?
Yeah, what it was then was a plasma.
Right. And if it was a plasma 14 billion years ago, and then we keep going back.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And we keep going back, and we keep going back, and we keep going back, and we keep going back infinitely, you never come forward.
No, do you understand the difference between a thought experiment and reality? We are going back in on 10 billion years, 14 billion years, back and back and back.
Right.
But the universe itself isn't running backwards, it's running forward. Because while we're doing this, it was 1:30, then it was 2 o'clock.
Yes.
Then it was
That's why you can't have an infinite past.
No, it isn't.
It is. No. Of course it is.
Is this from Al Ghazali? That you've got this.
I haven't mentioned religion, Islam, Quran.
No, I was just wondering, because he has arguments like this.
No, it's not my argument.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just saying, if you have an infinite past event, the prime example is the one about taking the shot, isn't it? You've heard the idea, innit? About the soldier taking the shot.
Oh, yeah.
And before he can take a shot, he needs to get permission to take the shot.
Yes.
And before he can give him permission, he needs to take permission. Before he can give him permission, he needs to take permission.
Yeah.
And if everyone has to keep taking permission infinitely, the shot will never get taken.
Well, no, the shot can be taken at this point.
It won't be until they get permission.
No, because it could be that he got permission to make the shot 5 minutes ago.
No, he got no, it's an infinite past.
Yes, it's an infinite past.
So you'll never get the permission.
Somebody shoots a gun now.
No, they won't get. They can't shoot until they get the permission.
Yeah, but they've already got permission 5 minutes ago.
No, because that person can't give permission until they get permission.
Yeah, but he got that 10 minutes ago.
But he can't get it because he gets permission.
15 minutes ago.
Can't do because it's infinite.
2000, you know.
No, but it's infinite.
Yeah, this is the sort of you know Zeno's paradox. It's the same sort of thing. Zeno's paradox is, for instance, if you fire an arrow at a target, the arrow can't get there until it's got halfway there. It can't get there halfway there until it gets a quarter way there, and an eighth, and so on. And therefore, you could prove by this form of logic that an archer could never hit a target. Well, we all know it's not true. We all know that's a fallacious argument because we can see archers hitting targets.
No, but we're not talking about a future. We're talking about infinite past.
Yes. Well,
you explain to me.
Yes.
If I have to take a shot, yeah, and I say before I can take a shot, I need to take permission.
Yes.
So I can't take a shot till I get permission.
Yes.
And I have to get permission off you.
Yes. So
right, I have to get permission off you.
Yes.
But you can't give permission until you get permission.
Yes. Yes.
And he can't give permission until he gets permission. And it goes back infinitely. No one will ever give permission because it's infinite past.
What you've assumed there is that there's an infinite number of people. Each of them has to give permission.
There has to be.
Well, no, because a man could just take a shot.
Okay, I ask you for permission, right? I have to ask you for permission. You ask for permission.
Yeah. So
permission to take the shot, sir.
Yes.
Permission to take the shot, sir.
Yes. Yes.
You have to get permission. Ask him.
Yes. Yes. I know. This is what you've assumed.
Ask him infinitely.
You've assumed an infinite speaker's corner with an infinite number of people.
No. I haven't assumed nothing.
You had to assume an infinite
there has to be.
causal chain.
Yes.
You had to assume an infinite causal chain.
There has to be. Because that's infinite, isn't it?
Well, no.
This is the whole point.
No.
Yes.
No.
Explain to me then.
Yes.
If you can't get permission to take the shot until you've asked him for permission, and he can't get permission until he asks for permission,
Yes.
and he can't get permission until he asks for permission,
Yes.
and it's an infinite regression,
Yes.
how will anyone ever get permission?
You have
A start point.
You have created.
Do you need a start point?
You feel you need a start point because what you've done.
Well, you need a start point.
You have created an infinite number of preconditions to the
No.
making the
I've
shot.
created I've created an infinite series of events.
Yeah.
Right. So therefore, I'll say it again.
Yes.
If everyone has to seek permission, there has to be a point where the permission's given, and then it'll come back up the chain.
That's what you're saying. Yes.
Well, that has to.
Assuming that.
Because if that permission is never given, the shot is never taken.
You are assuming. Your reductive ad absurdum is to assume that there is an infinite number of people, each of whom has to.
No, I didn't. No. What I said was this.
Yes.
I said if.
Yes, if there was infinite. I say it's a reductive ad absurdum.
Yes.
A reductive ad absurdum is to take somebody's idea and prove it's nonsense.
No, what is this? What is to do? Probably what you just said, but in a more layman's term.
You are saying if this was so.
My question is this:
then the shot would never be fired.
If there is not a start point where someone can finally give permission for it to come back up the chain, yeah, that shot can never get fired.
All right, I'll put it this way.
Do you understand that?
Yes, I do, but I don't agree.
Now, if you don't agree if there's not a start point, the shot can't be fired. All right, so how explain that?
There's an infinite number of people,
right.
You know, the one he gets it from, the one he gets it from, and they are all chanting. And what they're chanting is, fire the shot, fire the shot, fire the shot. They've been doing that for infinity of time.
But they can't until they get permission.
No, they don't need permission to chant.
No, they need permission they need to get permission to give permission.
No.
Yes.
Because they're always doing. You see, if the man wasn't firing the gun, the soldier's there, he's got the gun, but he hasn't fired it yet.
Right, he can't fire without permission.
He wants to change to a different situation where he fires the gun.
Right.
So therefore he has to get permission for it.
Yes.
But if he was always firing the gun, then he never needed permission.
No, but we use the example of he can't fire until he gets permission.
Yes.
So I'm talking about the present. I'm talking about a point in time.
Yes. You're talking about a change from him not firing the gun to firing.
I'm talking about infinite regression. Yeah. So for that man to fire that gun, he needs permission, isn't it?
In your
in the scenario,
in this
right?
Yes,
So he needs
permission to do a phase change, to change from not firing the gun
to firing the gun. Right.
Yes.
And unless there's somebody who can give permission.
Yes. And that permission hasn't been given to the soldier yet.
No.
So, but in 5 minutes it might be given to him. And then
But it can't be given until he gets permission.
Well, what if he's always been given permission?
But it can't get to him.
No. Supposing there is an infinite number of people, or angels, or fairies, or whatever, they've been always saying, nobody ever gave them permission to it, they've always been saying, fire the gun.
But then we wouldn't be in a scenario where a soldier needs permission, would we?
Well, yes, he does need permission, but he's got it.
He's appeared in all your videos.
He needs to ask for permission.
No, he doesn't need to ask for permission.
Yes, he does.
He's got the permission. There's his sergeant
No, what did I
standing beside
say?
him saying,
What did I say? What did I say?
"Fire the
What did I
gun, fire
say?
the gun."
Let's see, what was my example? My example was this: a soldier needs to fire a gun. Before he can fire the gun, he needs to get permission, right? And the person he has to get permission from needs to get permission of someone else to give him permission.
Well, he's already got the permission.
No, but that's not the scenario, is it?
Eternally been given
But that's
the
not the
permission.
scenario, is it?
Well, okay, then you're talking about something I don't believe in.
No, but I'm talking about the scenario of infinite regression
No,
and how it's flawed.
You're talking about a particular idea about infinite regression. And
Right.
it's flawed. And I agree with you, it's flawed.
No, but what I'm saying to you is this.
It's not more than what I...
No, fair enough. Look, if you can disagree with it, and we'll let the viewers decide. It's very, very simple.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah? It's very, very simple. If you need permission to do something,
Yeah.
and you say, "Sir, can I fire the gun?" And you say, "Wait, I need to ask her, can I fire the gun?" And she goes, "I have to ask him to fire the gun."
That's right.
And everyone has to keep going back infinitely.
That's right, because-
you will never get a start point.
Because they haven't previously given the permission.
Well, you never get a start point.
Because they haven't previously given the permission.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about a situation...
Well, you've changed my whole scenario.
Well, yeah, you've got that scenario.
Right, so I'm using my scenario.
Your scenario...
All right, so, let's use my scenario. All right, let's use my scenario. No. I'll tell you what we'll do. We've got my scenario,
Yes.
and then we'll use your scenario. All right. Soldier's in a position. He wants to take the shot.
right.
Needs permission. He needs to get permission of someone. Infinite regression. Can't take the shot till he gets permission. He'll never take the shot because he'll never get permission because it goes back infinite. That's my scenario. Your scenario, guy's got permission.
He's always got permission.
Right, so he doesn't need to ask.
He doesn't need to ask because he's...
So what's the point of your scenario?
Well, the point of my scenario is to show how you can have an...
What's that got to do with infinite regression?
I'm showing you how in an infinitely aged universe, a universe that's eternal, you can still have things happen.
No, because according to you, if he's always been given permission, the first person, that's all he needs. Doesn't need infinite. It's got nothing to do with infinite regression, your example.
Well, I mean, I can contract it to one person. Always say, there is the general, and the general is standing...
Right,
else,
right.
There's just a general...
What's that got to do with
and the
infinite?
general is saying all the time, fire the
No,
gun,
what's got to
fire
do
the
with
gun, fire
it?
the
Doesn't
gun.
need to,
He's been
does
doing it for
it?
eternity.
Doesn't need to. Just needs to say it once so you can fire the shot.
Yeah, well, I'm doing this to show that there isn't a change. In your system, there's a change
No.
from
But-
the man giving the permission to not giving the permission.
No. What I said, what did I say? An infinite series of events.
Yes.
Now, if the first guy you asked for permission says yes, you don't need to go back any further.
No, you don't need to go back any further in this system at all.
No.
Because he's already giving
No,
permission.
but we're talking about the whole subject matter was infinite regression.
Yes, you have taken a particular view on infinite regression.
No. What
A
I've said is this, very simply. I say, your example, if the guy needs to take a shot, he says, "Sir, can I take the shot?" "Yeah, take the shot," bang, done. That's got nothing to do with infinite. That's the next person.
You were saying...
No, what does what you just said, your scenario, have to do with an infinite number of events?
Because you can have an infinite number of people giving permission, and at the same time the soldier firing the gun.
You can't just end the conversation.
You
we
can't.
Have two models
You can't.
Here. We have two models here of what...
Your model can't.
We have two models here of what an eternal universe would be like. You have put forward your model, and under your model, yes, I agree, it's absurd, because that isn't my model.
Right. So I said, and this is where we digress to this, because I said about the infinite regression, I don't get it, and you went, well, I don't agree with that. So now we've had to bring it to the table.
Yeah, we agree with it.
See, I don't believe an infinite number of events can give you a present.
No, you don't, because you think that an infinite number of events would have to start
Past
at a
events.
certain time.
Has to. But it can't do.
No, if it's infinite, it can't.
It can't do.
That's the whole point.
Exactly.
This is the.
So if it doesn't start, but if it doesn't start,
if it doesn't start, then there's no particular time when you start counting the events.
Yeah, that's...
right.
So you have. Suppose you have.
So in my example, the shot will never get fired.
It's a comparison of two infinities. Do you understand it this way? What you're talking about is an infinite number of events. A tells B, tells C, tells D, tells E, etc. to fire the gun. Well, there's an infinite number of those, right? That's what you're saying. This is the model that you've got, right? In an infinite amount of time, that could be done.
No, if there's an infinite amount of people, no, it won't.
Because you're comparing one infinity to another.
No, not so.
Yeah, because...
You could have an infinite amount of time. You would need an infinite amount of time to ask an infinite amount of people.
Exactly, and if you have an infinite amount of time, then you can ask an infinite number.
You still wouldn't start it.
No, it doesn't. That's
Still wouldn't get permission.
That's exactly what you're saying and I'm denying.
Yeah, I don't know why you're denying that.
Well, I'm denying it because I'm aware that one infinity can be as big as another.
No. The point is this: you can never have a start point
I agree. You can
in an infinite past.
Absolutely agree. With
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, fine.
Right.
Yeah, so you've got an infinite number of things to happen and an infinite amount of time for them to happen. So fine, they can happen.
No, but they can never start.
No, they never start.
If it's an infinite amount of past.
Because they've been continuing on.
If it's an infinite amount, if it's an infinite
they
past.
never move from not doing it to doing it.
So
they're doing it all the time.
So go back to see now. Here's what I would say. You see,
Yes.
I would say it's unreasonable as a scientist.
Yes.
To go against the scientific model without reason, apart from ideas, you would go with what's tangible right now, isn't it?
Well, what you
See, I think it's unreasonable if I was a scientist, to be honest with you, unless I was clued up, to challenge Stephen Hawking and how he's come to what he's come to. I really would.
Well,
I feel uncomfortable. I know they do. I would feel uncomfortable.
Okay.
And
so you just look for the biggest name and say he's right.
no. What did we use? We used consensus. You say there's not consensus?
It's not consensus. No.
Really?
Yeah.
And what would make a consensus?
Well, a consensus would be that if all the scientists believed in it.
Well, the majority is.
Consensus?
Well, no, if 51% belonged in that, I wouldn't say that was a consensus. Yeah.
So you're saying half cosmological scientists don't believe the universe had a beginning?
And not only do I say
Half
that,
of them.
but I've attended lectures by some who have said exactly
No,
that.
some might say, odd ones might say. I'm talking about half of them.
Half of them. I don't know.
Who are the top renowned cosmological scientists of the... I know this Stephen Hawking, I keep quoting him. What about Krauss? What does Krauss say? What does Krauss say?
Sorry?
What does Lawrence Krauss say?
Why did I say that?
He never had nothing. He said it came from nothing.
No, but does he believe it had a beginning? Or has it always existed? See, the term from implies it began. So, Krauss, Dawkins, who else? No, Dawkins, what does he believe? He must have an idea.
Well, Dawkins is a biologist.
Yeah.
And if he does have an idea privately, he doesn't talk about it because he doesn't want to invade another scientist's field.
On YouTube now, I see.
And what does he believe?
The way they say
Right, so most of the guys you're quoting would agree with me. Right, so it's not unreasonable for me. Going back to my whole original point,
And
yeah?
I said to you, if you're somebody who's busy doing something else, then it's not unreasonable for you to say, oh, what's the answer to that? Oh, well, there's a consensus over there, or there's a important math
No,
belief.
but-
If you actually really want to know...
No,
then
but you
it's not
can't...
reasonable.
No, let's understand one thing. You are right, I am a Muslim. I have more than one string to my bow.
Of course, yeah.
Alhamdulillah. All I'm using now is the same bow, the same string you're using. All right. Now, using the same string you're using, I still appear reasonable to believe the universe had a beginning.
Well, if you mean reasonable as in not barking mad, yes, of course.
Well, I don't know. How do you understand the term
If you
unreasonable?
mean reasonable in the sense of, look, I've got a lot of things to do with my life. I've not got much time to study cosmology. I've had a quick look. I've seen there are people who believe this, so I think it's reasonable to believe it.
All right.
Yeah, that's still
All right. Do you think? All right. Let's get this in a nutshell, because I have many atheists in this park.
Yeah.
I've never come across you before, so I don't really know. And a lot of them think religious people who believe in the idea of a universe having a cause are crazy.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that? We are crazy, or would you say it's reasonable to have that stance?
It's reasonable. It's one idea among
Right. Now, would you say it's unreasonable for those people to come to this park and tell people they're unreasonable?
No, not at all. Look, I have no objection to you coming to this.
No.
You adore.
I'm talking about atheists. I'm talking about atheists who come every Sunday,
Yes.
walking around telling religious people you're crazy for believing in a sky daddy or a creator and such. Yeah. Do you think they're reasonable or unreasonable?
They're reasonable.
That's reasonable.
It's okay. It's within the.
Whoa.
purview of
You
what
just
can
said
believe.
it's not unreasonable
Yes.
for me
That's right.
to accept the idea that the universe had a beginning, and now you're saying it's reasonable for them to say I'm wrong.
I'm saying it's not unreasonable for you to believe the universe had a beginning. It's
Alhamdulillah.
not my view.
No. I'm not saying
I'm
it is.
saying that when they come along and say you're daft,
Yeah.
That's not my view either.
No.
What I'm saying
No,
is
but I'm asking you: is that reasonable behaviour?
Yeah.
From them?
Yes.
To come and tell me I'm daft?
Yes.
And why?
Because it's reasonable for both of you. It's not mad for you to believe that the universe had a beginning,
Well,
and it's not
we're
mad
talking
for
about
them
you.
to say you're daft.
No. But for you to
I
say.
don't agree with either of them.
No.
I don't agree with you on that. I don't agree with them on
You
that.
just agreed with me.
I agree that
You just agreed with me. I'm not unreasonable.
Yes, I don't agree with your beliefs, but I don't think you're unreasonable.
I'm not
to have
asking
them.
you. Right.
Okay.
Right.
Same thing with the atheist who tells you you're daft. I don't agree with his belief in this case that you're daft. I don't think you are daft.
Is he unreasonable?
No, I don't think he's unreasonable.
Why?
Because
Would you question his reason why I'm unreasonable?
I might, and I might question your reasons
No,
as well.
you can question my reason.
I'm doing that.
I just have.
I said,
No. You just asked me, and I've just told you,
Yes.
and you accepted I'm reasonable.
Yes.
Right.
And I accept accept he's reasonable as well.
But you can't.
Yeah.
But you can't.
No. If you say there's a reasonable, for example.
No, you can ask. Look, no. I'll give you an example. I believe what I believe.
Yes.
Right, and you say that's reasonable.
Yeah.
An atheist comes along.
I say you're reasonable, not that it's reasonable.
No, I'm reasonable. Yeah.
You're reasonable.
Yeah, it's reasonable what I believe.
Yes.
My belief is reasonable. Alhamdulillah. So you accept I'm reasonable.
Yes.
Right. Now an atheist comes along, mocking what I believe,
Yes, right.
saying it's unreasonable.
That's right, yeah.
And you say that's reasonable.
Yes.
Right. Then you should say to the atheist, why is he being unreasonable? Because you think I'm reasonable. No. But you're saying I'm reasonable, and he's saying unreasonable. So this guy disagrees with you.
Just as you do, yes.
No. On this point, I don't disagree with me.
No, you don't disagree about.
I believe. No. Here's the point. I believe I'm. I believe I'm being reasonable in my belief.
Yes.
You believe I'm being reasonable in my belief. He thinks I'm being unreasonable in my
right,
belief.
yes.
So you should be with me. And you should think he's being unreasonable because you've heard my reasons and they are reasonable.
Okay.
It's like a tongue twister, that, isn't it?
The point is that you think that if you have two contrary opinions, they can't both be reasonable.
No, there's a difference.
I agree.
There's a difference. No. Why do you think I asked the initial question? Do you not accept the evidence for God, or do you deny God's existence?
And I say I don't accept the evidence.
Alhamdulillah, he's denying God's existence. Not necessarily you, or probably is you. No, I'm using an example. So this atheist now is denying God's existence.
Yes.
Now you say that's wrong, isn't it? That's unreasonable, isn't it?
I think he's gone too far.
Unreasonable, isn't it?
No, it's no more unreasonable.
You don't think that's unreasonable?
Yeah, there can be many reasonable opinions.
Show me how him denying, not you again, maybe, I don't know. Show me how him denying God exists, a creator exists, is reasonable.
Oh, you want me to take up those arguments?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Bear in mind,
Yes, okay.
you just said I was reasonable.
Yeah. But I'm saying I disagree with you, and I disagree with you.
No, we're not talking about whether you agree with
said,
it.
Look, this guy Hamza, what is it he believes? I'm trying to give...
We're talking about possibilities and probabilities.
Yes,
Listen,
yes.
it's possibilities, probabilities. Now, I've explained to you why I believe what I believe. I've not brought the string to the book. I've not brought creation into the fold and the wonder within nature.
around the corner, we know it's...
Well, I read... I'll give you an example, yeah? Very, very quick one. I don't want to jump into evolution and such, because I've heard about the evolution argument. I was reading yesterday about this particular wasp.
Yes.
That it lays a egg on top of a spider.
Oh, yes.
You read it?
I know those, yes.
Lays the egg on top. What does it do?
Well, what happens is he paralyses the spider. We were talking about the same wasp. He lays the eggs inside it, and the grubs come out and they eat the spider's mom.
No. No, this wasp, it lays its egg on top of the spider.
Yeah.
When the egg hatches, the maggot or the grub, mind controls the spider.
Yeah.
And it takes control of its web creating ability.
Yeah, okay.
And the spider has different webs it does.
Yes.
It has a sticky web for catching insects, and it has another web it does when it's changing form, when it's coming out of its shell.
Yes.
And what this grub does, it triggers the spider's other web making ability.
Okay, yeah.
So it tells the spider to make the web, not the one that catches flies, make the web that you use to protect. Yeah. And then the grub gets wrapped in this web.
Okay, yeah.
And then the wasp comes out of it. Subhanallah. Now I'm asking, I don't want to go into evolution, but I'm just saying, how did the spider develop these different web skills? Yeah. I mean, because according to evolution, this is how it survives. This is how it is. Okay. So first of all, how did it know it needed one web for that to suit it what it does? Yeah. And then how did the wasp know this particular spider does this different webs?
Yes.
And how did it create this ability to know to brain control a spider?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, and there's 1,000 other questions like it that you can...
There's millions of more.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying to you, that's the second string to my bow.
That's right, yeah.
And obviously the third string to my bow is this creative has communicated with us.
Sure.
But I'm not gone there.
No.
All right?
Okay.
I've stayed silent. I've stayed on your string.
Yeah, okay.
All right? Therefore, I never mentioned God, never mentioned religion, never mentioned Quran, never mentioned creation. No, I did not.
You have mentioned God a few times.
I've never said God made the universe, have
You
haven't
haven't said that, but
right.
you've mentioned God a few times. The word has crossed your...
The word God, when I said I've not mentioned God, yes.
Well, that was one, and another one just now, when you said I haven't mentioned God, yeah.
All right, but I'm not using God to support my argument, am I?
You're not using it to support your argument, but you are using the word, yes.
But I'm not using the word to support my argument, am I?
No.
Alhamdulillah. So all I've used is a scientific method. All right, and you said that's reasonable.
A lot of this isn't scientific method, a lot of it is philosophy rather than science. But, okay, it's in that area,
Did you not say my belief is reasonable?
Yes, it did say that.
And this person here is saying I'm unreasonable.
Yes.
So this person's saying you're wrong in your understanding of my belief.
No, this person is saying that from his position. You were saying I'm wrong about certain things.
No. I haven't said you're wrong.
Yeah,
I haven't said you're wrong.
You think I'm wrong?
I've never said you're wrong about anything. Never said you're wrong about anything.
You think I'm wrong about anything?
Never said anything.
Really?
Never.
There's another fellow that looked like you.
I said you're wrong.
Because you said
I've made no claims about that. Why have I made claims about that?
Because you produced all these arguments.
I've never said you're wrong though.
You produced arguments.
What did I say? Possibility, probability.
No. You produced arguments which you believe
No.
demonstrate. Well, you don't even know what I'm going to say yet. And you say no.
You just made the statement that I said you're wrong. I've never said you're wrong about anything.
You didn't quite use those words, but you used arguments.
So I didn't say you're wrong, did I? No, I didn't. Because it can't be proven, can it?
Yeah. This thing about he can't fire the gun.
No, that particular point was to understand the term of infinite regression.
To show me that infinite regression was wrong.
Well, that's not the real model.
Oh yeah, it is.
Because you don't agree with that infinite regression either.
No, well, it took a long time to explain that.
No, but you don't believe in the infinite regression either.
But you thought I did, and you were trying to...
No, not at all. Not at all.
What were you telling us about?
I'll tell you why. Because here's the thing, you see. Yeah. You said you don't believe in the infinite universe, right? You said you didn't believe in that. The infinite singularity, yeah?
Yeah.
You don't believe in that.
I don't believe in that.
And I said, I also don't believe in that because of the problem of infinite regression. Then you started defending the idea of infinite regression.
No, I didn't.
That's why we went into... Well, the camera will tell us. Anyway. I'll say it again to you, categorically. I've never said this man is wrong about anything. You can hold any opinion you like. The only time I take issue with it when you say I'm wrong, and then I'll challenge your claim.
Well, okay, now we're getting somewhere.
Alhamdulillah.
Because, okay, you're not saying I'm wrong.
No.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I mean...
No, but that person... Right. So go... No. What's that?
I was being very...
No, but the point here is this. You've heard my arguments, isn't it, for what I believe?
Yes.
And you accept they're reasonable.
Yeah, I don't believe them, but I can see how a reasonable man could...
I'm not asking you to be convinced by them.
That's right, fine, yeah.
But you're convinced by the fact that what I've way of understood it is reasonable.
Yeah, I don't think you're mad.
Right. So if you think I'm reasonable, and I think I'm reasonable,
yes.
and the atheist comes along and thinks I'm unreasonable,
yes.
then the atheist disagrees with both of us.
Yes, and I would say to...
Now, according to you assessing what I've said is reasonable, yeah?
Yes, it would depend what he exactly said. If he said, I don't agree with that, chap, I think that there are arguments...
I'm asking to agree with me.
Then that's fine.
I'm not asking for agreement, mate.
Yeah. If he says this, if somebody says this man is mad for being a Muslim...
No. This man is mad for believing in a sky daddy.
Okay, if he says this man is mad for believing in a sky daddy, I would say to him, why can you prove that?
Alhamdulillah. No. Exactly. Why? Because what's the difference? The difference is the claim and a statement.
No, well, the difference is that I can believe that somebody's wrong and I can argue with them without believing they're being unreasonable. I do it with you.
No. Alhamdulillah. But so what did I say? When I asked you about the, do you accept the evidence? Do you deny the evidence for God's existence, or do you deny God?
Yes.
Yeah? So just to determine your stance. This is not part of my argument, it's just to determine your stance.
Yeah.
You quite rightly said, quite fairly said, quite reasonably said, I don't deny God. I can't deny God exists, but I don't believe the evidence for God's existence, so I don't believe God exists, but I don't think you're being, and you use your words, I don't think you're being unreasonable for what you've just said to me, while you accept it.
It's a different opinion.
Alhamdulillah. Right.
I think the same thing about the atheist.
Right, but if the atheist then denies a creator exists, that's a claim, and requires for evidence.
And he may have evidence, and I will sit at his feet and listen earnestly to be illuminated.
Right, so then you could then be influenced by what he says then, to make me unreasonable again.
Well, he could convince me that you were unreasonable. He could convince me that I was wrong to say that you were reasonable.
Right.
But at the moment, he hasn't done that.
No, because you've concluded from what I've said to you that I'm reasonable.
Yeah, but this atheist might be brilliant. He might show me that you're completely mad. I don't think he will. I don't think you are mad. But he might be able to. So I will.
The point here is this. The point here is this. I'm trying to establish, and I hope the atheists are watching this, who regularly attend here. I think you agree it's unreasonable to go around Speaker's Corner, going up to people and telling them they're unreasonable for accepting the universe had a cause.
No, people do this all the time to each other.
No. But it's unreasonable, and it doesn't make any sense.
No, what you can do is a challenge. It says, look,
No, there's not a challenge. I'll tell you why it's not a challenge. Because if you go around saying, this doesn't exist, that doesn't exist, this doesn't exist, then you have now a burden of proof upon you.
And maybe he can discharge it.
Well, you're going to prove God doesn't exist?
He might be able to do it. I don't know. I've not met him, but he may be able to. So I wouldn't judge him.
As long as you agree, as it stands right now, that for me to accept the idea that the universe had a cause, and that cause is something with outside of the universe, which independent of the universe, that's conscious, has to be conscious. Do you accept that?
Well, no, I could imagine that there was some thing outside the universe that wasn't conscious, that nevertheless in some way was responsible for it. I could see that as a position that
So something outside of the universe not conscious.
Yes, that might be possible.
But then if something wasn't conscious, wouldn't its effect be immediate? Wouldn't the thing that caused the universe need to be infinite?
Not necessarily.
Really?
The universe is big.
Because if it's not infinite, then it requires a cause.
Oh yeah, then there might be something else outside.
Yeah, but then we've just talked about infinite regression.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
We've
And we've already been there.
Anyway, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
It took me a bit technical, man, but alhamdulillah, very nice talk. But as long as you accept that I'm not being unreasonable for what
you see me talking to.
Now, if you want to challenge the Quran, alhamdulillah, we're here.
Perhaps we'll do that next week with better weather.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
What's your name, my friend?
Alex.
Very nice to meet you. I'm Darren. Take care. Okay. Would you like me to say something to the camera? Oh, it's enough to say to the camera, is it? This guy we started with, and it was with regards. I just wanted to get atheists to understand that they have no logical, intellectual, reasonable right to come to the park on a Sunday, walking around, speaking to people who believe in the idea of a cause of the universe, saying they're crazy, they're mad for believing such a thing. As I've just shown in this video now, that it's reasonable, according to what we know, and Sarah loves that word know, what we know, that nothing that came into existence begins to exist did so without a cause. Therefore, if the universe did begin to exist, as most of the cosmological scientists, we've said Krauss, we've said Hawkins, we've said some foreign guy, I don't know what word they use, we can throw Einstein, we can throw Hubble and such into the mix. They all agree the universe is finite and had a beginning. Then according to what we know, if anything that begins to exist requires a cause, so the question next has to be, what is the cause of said universe?
And what was his stance?
He interrupted, and what was he challenging? I don't know, you'll have to watch the video, I can't remember now. He went to infinite regression and all of these things, but he was reasonable. We use that word a lot. Alhamdulillah. But the whole point I wanted to make, and I've wanted to make it for a long time, there's two types of atheists. If you're an atheist that walks around saying, I don't believe God exists, we have no issue with you. That just means you haven't, I have a set of criteria to accept the existence of God. Yeah? And if you have no criteria to accept the existence of God, you have no criteria to reject the existence of God. So you need to have something we can... Now, also, your criteria for evidence needs to be logical. So you can't say, I can't see God, so he doesn't exist, because that's illogical, because there are things we can't see, and also we know things we can see can't be trusted, because you just have to watch Dynamo, David Blaine, and they'll fool your eyes. Your senses can easily be tricked. So we can't trust what we sense and what we see, so it's an illogical proof that you're requiring. So, and then you have the atheist who denies God's existence. So you've got the ones who say, I don't believe God exists, and the ones who are around saying you're deluded, you're irrational for believing God exists. Because they're making a claim now. It's gone from a statement, I don't accept God exists, to a claim, God doesn't exist. Now if you make a claim, the burden of proof now is on you. So you have to have good reason now to say God doesn't exist. And if you have no good reason to say it, then why are you saying it?
Sounds like a quagmire.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you agree with that?
Alhamdulillah.
Must be something to do with the weather.
So that's all I was doing.
That is more or less my position.
Which is what?
As you've just outlined.
You don't accept God exists. The evidence.
After all the thought I've given to it, I don't see any good reason to believe in the kind of God that is described by the likes of myself.
And this was what
other things.
Alhamdulillah.
On the other hand, and I'm on video saying this, I will not go around claiming that there is no such thing as God.
There's no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his final messenger. The ones on thee know it's a sacrifice, but it's a small price to pay for all the rewards we'll get from Allah. Inshallah.
They wanna know about Islam, we'll give them dawah. They wanna know what a Muslim does, we'll give them dawah. When they wanna hate on our deen, we'll give them dawah. Who's the one and only? Nobody but Allah.